Welcome to MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker. You are listening to episode 314 of the podcast, unless you're joining live on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. If you want to catch the show live, subscribe on one or all of those channels. Turn on your notifications. So then your phone or your computer or whatever will let you know when the show is live, like right now. Today is Monday, May 15th. 2 days removed from UFC Charlotte. 1 day removed from Mother's Day, which is why I didn't do the episode yesterday. Obviously, I was busy spending time with the family. Hope everybody had a wonderful Mother's Day full of flowers and love and barbecues and brunch and, whatever else it is you guys do on Mother's Day. Hope everybody, if you don't live near your mom, hope everybody at least called mom and told you love her. I was fortunate this year. My mom came into town, came to visit, and then we took a little long weekend to Sarasota. It was cool because my parents flew in on Thursday, and the wife and I decided to take a last-minute kind of getaway. They stayed here with my daughter and, put her to bed on Thursday and got her up ready for school on Friday. And the wife wanted to go back to Epcot before our Disney passes expire. Go one time without the kiddo. She was super excited to be here with Grandma and Grandpa because, she doesn't get to see them that often. I mean, every few months or so. But she really loves spending time with them, of course, because they spoil the hell out of her. Not that I don't or my wife doesn't spoil her. My kid is definitely very spoiled, but of course, Grandma and Grandpa go over the top. They get her, whatever she wants, and she knows it. So she was more than happy to spend the night here with Grandma and Grandpa while Mom and Dad took off. She was so excited when I told her. I said, would you care if Mommy and Daddy went away for the night, stayed at a hotel? You stay with Grandma and Grandpa? She's like, yeah. So it's cool. It would be hard to take a night away if she was going to be like upset or giving them a hard time or anything like that. But yeah. Wife wanted to do a little Epcot trip without the little one so we could, really indulge in some adult beverages and go on the grown-up rides. We stayed at our favorite hotel, which is the Walt Disney World Swan. So shout out to the Swan Hotel. Really one of our favorite spots to stay. It's on a Disney property, but it's still like a Marriott hotel. So we get points and everything to stay there. And it's located right in between Epcot and Hollywood Studios. So you could walk to either one of those parks, or they have like a little boat that'll take you there. So it was a perfect place to stay so we could, walk to Epcot and then stumble back. Do a little drink around the world, have some good snacks, go on some rides. It was a fun time. That's what she wanted to do for Mother's Day. So we took off and did that. Had a nice overnight date night, and had some good drinks. We ordered some things that we normally don't, and normally if you're responsible for a child, you gotta make sure you're not getting hammered if you want to be a responsible parent. Especially if one of you has to drive back to a hotel or drive back to Tampa. You got to keep everything in moderation, but we were able to let loose a little bit. It was nice. Like I said, I got to stay at one of our favorite hotels. They actually have their own beer there called Fins and Feathers. Fins is spelled with a PH, as in dolphins. because the theme of the hotel, it's actually attached to another hotel called the Dolphin. So it's the Swan and Dolphin. So yeah, they have their own beer that you can only get there. So I'm always excited to get it. It's like a pale ale. It's made locally somewhere here in Florida. I think Lakeland, Florida, I want to say. But we did that and then went into Epcot and, got to do some rides that we don't normally get to do. Went on the Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster that they just built. I think it just opened like last year, maybe over the summer, something like that, or in the fall. It was pretty recently that it opened, but we haven't got to go on it because, it's hard. Even if we do, like, they have like parent swap where one parent can go on, the other parent stays with the kid. But then, you got to wait online for like an hour, even if you buy like a fast pass. So without the kid, we're able to wait on the line, go on a ride. My wife liked it so much, and she's not even a big roller coaster person. She liked it so much, she wanted to go back in the morning the next day, go on it again. I don't know too much about Guardians of the Galaxy because I've never really seen the movies. I think I've seen like parts of the first one. I guess they're on like 3 or 4 now. So I was a little lost on the story. I thought there was like a little too much storytelling. They have like 3 different staging areas before you get on the ride. And it's telling all about how they have to evacuate you from some planet. And I didn't know what the hell was going on. I'm like, when do we get to go on the ride? It's like you just go to another room and it's just another waiting area. And then you get to go on the ride. The ride's really cool. It's a pretty mild roller coaster, but it's like each car of the roller coaster can rotate to the right and left. So it kind of spins you around as you're going on the ride. And there's like giant screens throughout the whole ride. It's an indoor roller coaster. And there's like some giant monster that's trying to kill you. I couldn't tell you who he is because, like I said, I haven't seen the movies. But yeah, the ride is cool. And, the wife enjoyed it so much she wanted to go back the next day and go on it. The downside for it is even if you buy like the Disney fast passes, they call them lightning lanes, you have to pay extra to go on that ride. So, I mean, it's a little bit of a ripoff, to be honest, but I guess if you're only going to go every once in a blue moon, it's cool. So we did that, and then the first night we went over to Hollywood Studios, also went on a couple of roller coasters over there, did like Tower of Terror, and they have like a Toy Story roller coaster there that's like the Slinky Dog. Still a little bit too intense for my daughter, so got to do that stuff. We had a good time, act like a couple of kids, go around, get drunk, go on roller coasters. It was fun. Then we drove back from Orlando Friday, basically stopped here at our house, picked up my parents and our daughter, and then we all drove to Sarasota, which is about an hour and 15 minutes south of here, maybe an hour and 20 minutes. Drove down there, got a little Airbnb for the weekend with a pool in the backyard, which my daughter loved. And it was nice, relaxing weekend. Saturday night, my parents went out to see Tom Jones in concert because my mother is completely obsessed with Tom Jones since she was 19 years old. And I think she's gone to see him in concert like almost every year. Like she's seen him over 50 times in concert. So we got her the tickets for Mother's Day. Me and my sister and brother all chipped in, get her the tickets, and got the Airbnb to stay down there. And I dropped them off at the show and then picked them up like they were teenagers again. So it was fun. They had a great time. Said he puts on a great show. 83 years old. I think he's had 2 hip replacements. apparently the guy could still move around. So we can all hope to be in as good a shape as Tom Jones when we're in our 80s. We're always teasing my mom about, how he's so old. When he was young, the women all used to throw their panties on stage. Now people are throwing Depends up there. And we tease her all the time, but the truth is the guy is super talented. Like his voice is just unreal. And I think he's worth like $300 million or something ridiculous like that. So he definitely doesn't need to be touring anymore, but you tell he's still just passionate about it. He just loves to perform and to sing. So gotta respect that. I can't listen to his music though, because I grew up listening to it. It's like all my mother listens to, so I was forced to listen to it all the time. So it's just not my cup of tea, Jack. Can't listen to it anymore. I guess I got back to the arena a little early to pick my parents up. So I was waiting in the car for them to come out, and I guess he did like a 2-hour show. We weren't expecting it to go that long. They told me it was going to be like 90 minutes, but then it started late and was 2 hours long. So I was actually sitting in my car for like an hour, and I was basically able to watch the entire main card of the UFC except for the main event. I think I watched every fight on the main card except the main event while I was waiting for them to come out. Because it had aired earlier in the day, I was able to skip the commercials and skip the walkouts and stuff like that and just watch the fights. Let's see. Mark Fellows, watching from Vietnam, came here to boost the Global Rocks viewership. I don't know how many viewers we have in Vietnam. I guess we have one. He also says he was singing Tom Jones to his masseuse yesterday. All right, that sounds like good OnlyFans content, Mark. Sounds like you're on your way to opening an OnlyFans. In any case, I hope you're enjoying your vacation, buddy. Vietnam sounds like an awesome place to go. I would love to go sometime. I definitely want to make my way over there at some point. From what I hear, the food's incredible. So definitely got to do that at some point. So I'm in the car waiting for my parents to come out of the Tom Jones concert. I watch most of the main card of the UFC. And then when I got back to the Airbnb, I watched the main event. And then I went back and watched the prelims after that. So that's why I love these early cards. Like, even if I don't get to watch them early, at least I can still watch it on Saturday night and get to bed at a reasonable hour. I know I sound like such an old man, and I know those of you in Europe and stuff have it the worst because you got to watch every card at like 4 or 5 in the morning. And I feel for you guys. I really do. But, what can I say? I just love when the cards come on early. It's easier for me. It's more convenient. So let's get into it, shall we? Jailton Almeida, first round submission over Jairzinho Rozenstruik. It was like, man, Biggie Boy he just didn't seem to know what to do. He got his legs wrapped up. He just kind of collapsed to the ground, and he was just lost. Almeida, really took his time and just slowly worked his way to the back and found that choke. And he's just so good on the ground, man. This guy is a problem in the heavyweight division. What I would like to see is him tested against somebody who can wrestle, because, he had a nice double leg against Rozenstruik. I mean, he really just kind of folded his knees together. He wasn't met with any resistance. So what's he going to do if he gets in there with like a Curtis Blades who, can keep the fight standing because he's got that wrestling background and those credentials. Or he could put Almeida on his back. I mean, I don't think he would want to, but he definitely has that ability. Maybe Almeida is like an old school jiu-jitsu guy, doesn't have, all the tools off of his back that he does from the top position. But I mean, I wouldn't risk it. I think it would make sense. Put him in there with Curtis. Curtis coming off a loss. Almeida's on the rise. He's probably ranked in the top 10 now after beating Rozenstruik. So, it'd be interesting to see what they do with him. Tom Aspinall would be a really fun fight down the line. Let me pull up the heavyweight rankings here. See, maybe they have them. I don't know if the rankings have been updated yet. They usually do it on Tuesday, so it's probably not updated yet. Let's see. Yeah, so they have Rozenstruik at 9. Yeah, they haven't updated yet. Rozenstruik's 9. Almeida was 12 going into this, so he's going to break into the top 10. So if we look at this top 10, I don't see a lot of people giving him problems. There's not a lot of guys who can wrestle. I mean, if you give him Cyril Gane next, he's going to submit him. I mean, Gane is pretty big and he uses his range a lot better than Rozenstruik, but I feel like all Almeida would have to do is just close the distance, body lock him, drag him to the ground. Obviously, you have John Jones would be the worst matchup for him, but we're not ready for that. I don't know if John Jones will even still be fighting because he's talking about fighting Stipe and then retiring. So I don't know if John Jones will even be fighting by the time Almeida is ready for a title shot. Obviously, Stipe can wrestle. Same thing. Who knows how much longer he'll be around by the time Almeida is up that high. Tom Aspinall, I think, would be a really interesting fight because he's got some of the best jiu-jitsu in the division. So I would love to see those two go at it and grapple. Volkov would be interesting. Would he be able to get Volkov down because he's such a big dude? If he could, he would be in trouble for sure. Sergey Spivak, another interesting one. Marcin Tybura would be interesting as well, but I have a feeling after tomorrow, Almeida is going to be ranked ahead of him. So we'll see what they do. And for Rozenstruik, I mean, all you got to do, if you're the UFC, all you got to do with him, his next fight, is just give him somebody that's going to stand with him. Blagoy Ivanov, maybe. Blagoy would probably stand with him for the most part. Definitely don't give him to another a wrestler right off the bat because Rozenstruik is still an exciting guy to watch. He's got good power. He's super technical with the striking. He just, man, once he got on his back foot against Almeida, he just couldn't recover, man. And that's what a grappler like this will do to people. If you're not comfortable grappling, and a lot of heavyweights aren't, that's just the way it is. Even looking at those top rankings. Now, I didn't even see Curtis Blades on here. Okay, yeah, he's number 4. Yeah, a lot of heavyweights are not looking to grapple. They're looking to just throw until somebody falls down, which is why the current record for heavyweight title defenses is 3, because all these guys do is just knock each other out. And there hasn't been really a heavyweight that was just grappling everybody to dominance. Maybe Brock Lesnar, maybe Randy Couture, but they've been few and far between. Typically, historically, the heavyweights have just been the bangers, which is why people love watching them fight. But man, you gotta love seeing a guy like Almeida who just melts people with his grappling. I mean, it's not like he makes it boring. He takes them down, and then just systematically gets to the back and does what he needs to do to win. So super impressed with Almeida. I thought this fight would have been a little more competitive. I thought Rozenstruik would have given him a little more trouble, and he did. But Almeida is just legit. Mark Fellows says Tai Tuivasa would submit Almeida in a drinking contest. You might be right. You might be right. Although you never know, man. These Brazilians might be like sneaky good drinkers. They're drinking that aguardiente down there, that devil water. So who knows? He might be a sneaky good drinker. I don't know how well he can chug a beer out of a shoe, but hey, I'd watch it. It sounds like more OnlyFans content. Co-main event, pretty one-sided fight. Johnny Walker, smart game plan, stayed patient, did what he had to do to get the win over Anthony Smith. Just used his range really well, kept Anthony Smith at bay. Anthony had his moments in this fight. He landed some big shots, but he just had a hard time. I think he's not used to actually being the smaller fighter in there. I do occasionally listen to Michael Bisping's podcast, and Anthony Smith is usually on there as the co-host. And I heard him talking last week and saying how he said, I feel like I can't lose to Johnny Walker. I feel like if I lose to Johnny Walker, then that's it. I'm not going to be in title contention anymore. I can't consider myself a contender if I can't beat a guy like Johnny Walker. And then in the actual fight, he was doing some weird things. Like he started talking to Johnny Walker. He started yelling at him and saying, "You're attacking my family." And I don't know what that was about. I don't know if he was like trying to hype himself up and make himself angry to pressure in the fight, or if Johnny Walker had made some comments leading up to the fight about Anthony Smith's family. I don't know what was going on there. Johnny Walker seemed just as confused as me when Anthony Smith was yelling this stuff at him, but it didn't really seem to help. I think I had Johnny Walker win in the first and the third. I may have given Anthony Smith the second, or maybe it was a clean sweep for Johnny Walker. I mean, either way, it was a pretty clear-cut victory. Anthony Smith cut his gloves off at the end of the fight. Looked like he was going to retire, which, from the sound of the way he was talking on his podcast, it sounded like if he couldn't beat Johnny Walker, he was going to retire. So he took the gloves off, but then Cormier never went over to interview him. So I don't know if there was an issue with timing and production and they didn't have time to get to him, or maybe he changed his mind, or he didn't want to retire in that moment because he was emotional. I don't know what the story was, but if that was a retirement fight for Anthony Smith, it'll really be a shame to see him go. I think he's only like 34 years old, which is not crazy old for a light heavyweight. If he ever moved up to 34. Looks like he'll be 35 in July. So back-to-back losses. TKO loss to Magomed Ankalaev, and now the decision loss to Johnny Walker. It would be a shame. I would like to see him stick around a little longer. He's a fun fighter to watch. He's usually entertaining fights. He's been at the top of the division for a long time. He's a really good analyst too. I enjoy him like on the desk when he does his breakdowns. I like listening to the podcast he does with Michael Bisping. I don't listen to it regularly, but it's one of those ones. I'm sure most of you do that too. You go through all your regular podcasts that you listen to, and then you have a couple like, all right, if I have time this week, I'll put this one on. That's kind of what the Bisping podcast is for me. I enjoy it. I like listening to it. I just don't always have time. I have other podcast priorities that I have to get to. Like, obviously, all of you listening to this, your priority is MMA on the Rocks. And then whatever else you get to, if you get to it, right? You're like, I gotta get my dose of over the top under the influence, and then whatever else I have time for is fine. It's great. I appreciate it, guys. Let's see. Garry looked really good against Daniel Rodriguez, who I don't believe has been knocked out. Super tough guy. Garry looked really good. I mean, he's got an unusual body shape, body type for that weight class. He's super lanky, and he uses it well. And he set up that head kick really well. He was landing those kicks to the body against Rodriguez and was making him drop his hands. And then he kind of feinted the body kick. Rodriguez dropped the hand, and he went up high, shin to the chin. It was clean. So Dan Miragliotta had to come in and stop it. And then Garry kind of disrespectfully calling out Neil Magny. He's like, I want the guy who's been a journeyman in this division. Even if it's true, it's like kind of a disrespectful way to call a guy out. But Neil Magny is never backing down from a fight. He never turns anybody down. He was looking to fight Khamzat Chimaev when nobody would fight that guy. He was the only one raising his hand saying, I'll do it. So don't think you're going to call out Neil Magny and not get a response. I think it would be an interesting matchup. It would definitely be a step up in competition. You're going to be in there with a guy who can test your grappling, which we haven't really seen with Garry yet. We've seen him face adversity. We've seen him get hit, but we haven't seen a whole lot of his grappling yet. So that would be an interesting matchup. I think it would be like a really good test for him. Obviously, the kid's got star power. He's got a lot of personality. He's got a ton of confidence. He's got all the makings of a superstar. But again, I was talking about this last week. I forget about what other welterweight I was talking about. It's going to be interesting because the top of this division is very wrestling heavy. Aside from the champ, you've got wrestlers row at the top of this division. You got Colby Covington. You've got Kamaru Usman, Gilbert Burns. Who else we got in here? Let's see. Bilal Muhammad. Chimaev is still in these rankings for some reason, even though but if Chimaev is still there, you got Rakhmonov who can wrestle. So if he doesn't get the Neil Magny fight, Vicente Luque would be interesting. You got Sean Brady in the top 10 who can wrestle his ass off. Michel Pereira and Garry would be an interesting fight as well. Pereira's not going to wrestle him. So, yeah, there's some fun fights for Garry here. But I would like to see him deal with a couple of wrestlers before he gets up to this top 5, because if he fights Neil Magny and wins, like pretty much going to be in the top 10 now. So it'll be interesting to see. Let's see. Lane 99 says, my favorite MMA podcast live at a West Coast friendly time. Just made my evening. Thanks. Well, thank you, Lane. I always appreciate you tuning in. Glad it was a convenient time for you with Mother's Day and everything. Had to push it back a day and then had to get it in tonight when I got home from the gym. So here we are. So cheers to you. Speaking of cheers, I'm thinking about doing a little bit of a detox myself. Let's see where these fights go. Clicked on the wrong tab here. Not that. Doing a little bit of detox. I was thinking maybe from Mother's Day to Father's Day, take it easy on the booze. And we'll see how it goes. I don't think I'm going to be super disciplined about it, but definitely going to relax the drinking a little bit and try and flush the organs, get some water through. Maybe drop a couple pounds. We'll see. Let's see. Matt Temple says, I don't know if it's been mentioned, but fun fact, Saturday was the highest attendance of any U.S. UFC event. I did not know that. Was it just like an extra large arena that they were in? I didn't know Charlotte had like giant arenas, I guess. They're eventually going to do one, I would think, at like the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. I've heard mention of that for a while. If they do that, that place holds like 100,000 people or something. So I would imagine that would break that record because, especially depending who the card is, they would probably sell that place out. Carlos Ulberg knocks out Ior Pateria in the first round. Pateria was pressuring forward. Ulberg off of his back foot lands a really nice check hook right behind the ear of Pateria, drops him. When I first saw the fight, it looked like Pateria just changed levels and was diving for the legs of Ulberg, but he was just dropping because he got clipped behind the ear. I couldn't see it at the first angle. Then they showed the replay. And Ulberg, man, he's got that sneaky check hook that he likes to catch people with. And when he does, he puts them out. So let's see. That's 3 knockouts in a row for Ulberg. 4 wins in a row in the UFC. Had a knockout loss to Kennedy and Zechiku in March of 2021. But yeah, man, that's a guy who's just got some. He's got some thunder in that left hand. So it's dangerous if he touches you. Yeah, great performance by him. And then catches, adds another victim to that left hook list. Alex Morono submission victory over Tim Means. This was a fun fight. Morono made a lot of good adjustments. He was having a little bit of a hard time with the range of Tim Means, but he kept listening to his corner. His corner kept telling him to circle to the left. And it was really helping. And then, he's just got one of those squeezes with the guillotine where he's able to, once he snatches it on people. And the other thing is he adjusted it because Tim Means was about to pop his head out and Morono was able to scoot his hips in closer and readjust his grip. And that just made it even tighter. So really, experienced, I don't want to say expert level, but really experienced move. Where a lot of people, when they get the guillotine, a lot of MMA fighters, they tend to lean back with it. And a lot of people early on in jiu-jitsu as well, or some people very experienced in jiu-jitsu still tend to lean back with the guillotine, which I know I've talked about this a lot, tends to open up your arm and actually gives people more space. Whereas if you crunch down and scoot your hips in closer, that's what really makes the squeeze tighter. So that's what Morono was able to do. He's got an excellent guillotine. He's caught a lot of people with it, and he caught Tim Means. So that's a good feather in his cap. All right, let's talk about Matt Brown. How do you not love this dude? Ties the record for most knockouts in UFC history. He's tied with Derek Lewis. Knocks out Court McGee. It wasn't the best situation for Court McGee. He got knocked out pretty bad in his last fight, and then he's coming into a fight with a guy who's got the second most knockouts in UFC history. Matt Brown was picking his shots. He was trying to place that right hand. He noticed that Court McGee was dropping his left hand a little bit, and he tried to time it. I think he threw it like 2 times before the one that put him down, and was able to just catch him right on the right spot, put him out. Matt Brown just always been a guy that has that power. And now he's think he's 43 years old, still knocking people out as a welterweight. That's pretty unreal. And it sounds like he doesn't want to stop. He said he wants the record, wants the all-time knockout record. It's going to be interesting because, Derek Lewis is still active, and even though he hasn't been having a good go of it lately, he still has the ability to knock people out anytime he gets in there. So will Matt Brown be able to get the record? I don't know. It sounds like he damn sure wants to try. I guess as long as he's still feeling good and he's in good shape, and he doesn't feel like he's getting beat up or punch drunk or anything like that, he's just going to keep going. Credit to him. Matt Brown's always been a solid fighter with a lot of power. So let's see, man. I remember he was talking about retiring when he fought Diego Sanchez. All right, he's 42 years old. When did he fight Diego Sanchez? November 2017. That was supposed to be his retirement fight, but then he knocked Diego out with that elbow, that nasty elbow knockout. And he was like, man, this feels too good. I'm going to keep going. And here we are 6 years later. He's still knocking dudes out. So, credit to him. Hell, why not? He had that close decision loss to Brian Barberena in his last fight as well, which a lot of people thought he won. So, yeah, if he does like a fairly quick turnaround, he didn't take any damage in this fight. Yeah, why not go for the record? Sure. I don't know what kind of favorable matchup they could give him, but let's see. I don't think anybody in the top 15. Maybe Michel Pereira, because he would stand with him. But other than that, I wouldn't give him a ranked opponent if you want to see him get that record. Let's see. Douglas Silva, de Andrade, and Cody Stamann. This fight was frustrating. So this fight was a catchweight, so I guess one of them missed weight. In the first round, something really weird happened. I'm not familiar with this referee, Wayne Spinola, but kind of made some bad calls, because in the first round, Cody Stamann lands a takedown on De Andrade, and then he gets kicked in the face, and he looks at the referee. He's like, hey, what the hell? So referee stands him up, and then he goes, okay, fight. So you let the guy get kicked illegally in the face, and then you take away his position. This was a really bad call. One of many really bad refereeing calls on the night. And I just don't understand. Like, if you're going to separate them and you're not going to take a point, you got to let them start back on the ground again. You got to reset them in the same position. So I guess this was just a mistake from inexperience refereeing, that is. And yeah, it shouldn't have happened. Personally, I thought Cody Stamann won. I gave him the third round. He damn near knocked De Andrade out. You could say that was a 10-8 round. And I thought the first round was close. I thought Cody Stamann could have edged that one out. Granted, it was later in the night. I'll admit I was a couple of whiskeys deep. And I was also like watching this with my dad, and we were kind of talking through it. But from what I saw, I thought, Cody Stamann could have edged out a decision. I was surprised when he lost, but I'd have to go back and rewatch it. In any case, unanimous decision for Douglas Silva, de Andrade. So I guess all three judges disagree with me, and I'm fine with that. Mandy Bohm, this was a weird fight. Gets a technical decision over Ji-Yeon Kim. So, all right, at the end of the first or the second round, Kim kicked Mandy Bohm after the bell. Mandy Bohm was on top. The bell rings. She goes to get off her, and then Kim takes a cheap shot. here was the first mistake by the referee. He lets them go back to their corners and get cornered throughout the entire minute break, and then he grabs Kim and deducts a point. This is a big mistake, because if you're going to take a point, you have to take it in that moment, because it's going to affect how the corner is going to corner their fighter. If she just comes back to the corner and the point's not deducted, they're like, okay, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. But if they know ahead of time that the point was deducted, they have to change their strategy, right? Maybe they have to tell her to be a little more aggressive. So you basically, I'm not saying it was wrong to take the point, but you have to take it right away, because now you're putting her at a disadvantage where she doesn't get to get cornered with that information. So that was a mistake. Then in the third round, Kim knees Mandy while she's down, and I guess knees her in the eye. And Mandy looks at the referee and is like, hey, what's going on? Referee separates, has the doctor come in and look at Mandy Bohm, and she decided she didn't want to fight anymore, and she told the doctor she couldn't see. Nobody knows the truth but her, so I'm not going to criticize that. It didn't seem that bad, but who knows? With stuff with the eyes, you never know how bad it is. Only Mandy knows how bad it is. She says, I can't see. So the referee could have disqualified Kim, but instead deducts another point, and then the fight goes to the judges, which is why it becomes a technical decision, because it had gone past 2 rounds when the foul happened. So it does go to the judges' scorecards. They score it for Mandy Bohm because of the 2-point deductions. It was weird. I don't know if it was like amateur night for the referees, but there was a lot of wacky decisions being made inside the cage, and very unfortunate. A fight that Wayne Spinola couldn't mess up was Brian Battle over Gabriel Green. Brian Battle with a 14-second knockout, basically backs up to the cage and then just unleashes the power on Gabriel Green. Look, we know Brian Battle can crack. Of course, we got to criticize him for missing weight. So this had to be a 173-pound catch weight. But, on paper, he's always going to have a 14-second knockout. So, that's awesome for him. And he did it in front of his hometown crowd. He was very emotional at the end of that. So, good for him. And then in the first fight, Tainara Lisboza submits Jessica Rose Clark in the third round. This was like Jessica was trying kind of desperately for the takedowns, and then winds up kind of dragging Lisboza down in the third round, and then Lisboza was able to just kind of sneak around to her back and get the submission. So a huge win for her. Pretty solid card overall. I enjoyed it. Enjoyed most of it while sitting in the car waiting for my parents to come out at Tom Jones. So there we have it. All right, folks. Before we get into previewing next week's card, let me do this real quick because I always do it at the end. If you want to grab some MMA on the Rocks merchandise, over the top, under the influence t-shirt, tank top, or hoodie, go ahead, visit our friends at Team Reaper. It's reaper1.co is the website. You can use the promo code MMAROCKS10. That's MMAROCKS10. Save yourself 10% on your whole order, whether you are buying my merchandise or not. Still want you guys to be able to have the savings. So use the promo code even if you don't buy any of my stuff. I'm just going to use the money on alcohol anyway, full disclosure. But yeah, they have great stuff on there. I own a bunch of their rash guards. The rash guards are really cool. And then they have, t-shirts from local fighters, um, professional fighters as well. They sponsor like a few hundred fighters. So if you're one of these people that always says, fighters should get paid more, go ahead and put some money in their pockets so they can buy some organic food or grass-fed butter or whatever it is they need. I don't know. In any case, let's take a look at next week, shall we? And we're back in Vegas for UFC Fight Night 223, or it's UFC Vegas 70 something, I want to say. 73? I don't know. We have Mackenzie Dern and Angela Hill. This is an interesting fight. Very interesting main event. Obviously, Mackenzie Dern has, some of the best jiu-jitsu, not just in the women's MMA, but in MMA. Her jiu-jitsu is just super slick. Angela Hill, I did not realize, is 38 years old. Let's see. She's been submitted twice, but I don't think recently at all. So let's see. Last time she was submitted was by Randa Marcos in 2019. So I don't want to say it's a striker versus a grappler, but it's a striker versus a grappler. Angela Hill has great Muay Thai. She has good takedown defense. Mackenzie Dern striking has progressed quite a bit. She's not as wild as she was with the striking when she first started. She's a lot more composed in there. If she gets it to the ground, it's going to be a problem. I don't care if Angela Hill hasn't been submitted in 4 years. Mackenzie Dern's a problem for anybody on the ground. I wouldn't be surprised if she were to just pull guard in this fight. Although it would suck to be underneath Angela Hill with those elbows she throws. Like I said, she's got great Muay Thai. She's got good ground and pound. She's no slouch on the ground, but it's just, there's levels to grappling, and Mackenzie Dern is levels ahead of most of these women. And that's just the way it is. But, Angela Hill, I'm sure, is well aware of that, and she's going to be prepared for it. So Mackenzie Dern coming off of a loss to Xiaonan Yan, who is about to fight for the title, supposedly. So, no shame there. Mackenzie Dern never been finished. So Angela Hill is going to have 5 rounds to try and be the first to do it. I mean, she can definitely wear her out and possibly knock her out, but we haven't seen anybody really come close yet. Co-main event, Edmund Shabazian versus Anthony Hernandez. That should be a pretty good slugfest. Really interesting middleweight matchup. Emily Ducati and Lupita Godinez, they're going to fight at 120-pound catch weight. Not really sure what's going on there. Here's the one I'm looking forward to, folks. Andre Fiallo and Joaquin Buckley. This one should be a really good fight. Andre Fiallo is super tough, great boxer. He's got a hell of a chin, but Joaquin Buckley is one of the most explosive strikers in this welterweight division. So you got the flashy, more explosive Buckley against, the bite down on the mouthpiece boxing technician in Fiallo. I think it's a pretty safe bet. This one's not going to go to the ground. Really fun fight there. Then you got Maheshate Hayaser against Vyacheslav Borishev. I don't know if I got either of those names correct. I'm usually like at least in the ballpark, but man, that fight's gonna be that fight's gonna be a fun one for the commentators. I don't know who's commentating that one, but good luck. And we got Diego Ferreira and Michael Johnson. That should be a really fun fight as well. Michael Johnson been at it a long time, always dangerous. Karolina Kowalkiewicz against Vanessa Demopoulos. Vanessa, I think, is most famous for jumping into Joe Rogan's arms after a win. And Karolina just been having a real rough go of it lately. Let's see. Oh, no, she's got 2 straight wins. What am I talking about? Bill, you're drunk. Okay, so this is what I was still thinking about. These 5 losses in a row, dating back to fighting Jessica Andrade in 2018, and then she dropped her next 4 after that. Granted, if you look at the names here, Michelle Watterson, Alexa Grasso, Xiaonan Yan, and Jessica Penne, that's a pretty tough schedule. But then she bounced back, submitted Felice Herrig in June last year, and then won a decision over Silvana Gomez Juarez. So, she's still got a lot of work to do to climb back to where she was, where she was fighting Joanna Jędrzejczyk for the title many moons ago. I've always liked Karolina. She's got a sweetness or like an innocence to her. That's just very likable. What else we got? Alir Latifi and Rodrigo Nascimento. Somebody's probably going to sleep in that fight. That's gonna be a slugfest. Chase Hooper getting in there with Nick Fiore. And we'll end it there. Pretty fun card. Let's see, May 20th. I guess that one's going to be on a regular time next weekend. And then after that, we're pretty much through May. We're like looking at summertime already. This year's just kind of flying by, folks. All right. I guess somewhat short show tonight. I don't think there's anything major going on in the news unless there's anything else you guys want to talk about. Let's see. Yeah, all the headlines are pretty much Jailton Almeida. I see my boy Steamroller is getting a lot of shine this past week. He's popping up on podcasts all over the place. Every time I turn around, the dude's on another podcast. We got to get him back on here. In any case, as always, I appreciate you guys listening from wherever you are or watching, whatever you happen to be doing, wherever you happen to be doing it. If you could take the time, leave the show a review on whatever platform you happen to be using. It does help. The thumbs up help big time. Leaving comments on the videos help. I've been trying to be better about posting the little short clips every week from the episodes. It's just tough for me, not only to find the time, but also to watch video of myself for a long enough period of time to find a short clip that works. If anybody knows somebody that's looking to get some video editing experience as like an intern, put them in touch. I could use somebody that could cut up some shorts for me every week. In any case, I appreciate you guys just listening. You don't have to do anything more than that. But if you do, I appreciate it even more. Thanks for tuning in. And that's all I got. So until next time, cheers, everybody. Bye.